The response that I get from sharing this information from your program is just overwhelming. People go on there and they look. My daughter is just like, she played a pivotal part of me changing my life. So when she actually got to see it, like, wow, and like, she knows now that she played a pivotal part in me changing my life.
Just brings me to tears. How old is she?
She was 19 then, she's 37 now. So, yeah, she, as a matter of fact, I have here several things, but I just want to, this was the original note that she sent to me while I was in solitary confinement.
Oh, wow.
Will you read it?
Not a letter.
You want to read it?
We had a couple, well, her and I have a great rapport. She's my first daughter. So we always had letters between us. So this was the fourth time that I got a disciplinary infraction for positive drug usage with my heroin addiction. So I'm back in the box again. And the officer, I hit the feet up slot, the officer, he puts the number in. It was just the return address, it was just the initials of her name, and she didn't even put the address. So I look at it, so I open it, and I take this out. It's not, as you can see, it's not even a letter. So I read it, and I look, and I say, it says, September 7, 2009, from Jazzy. Her name is Jazzy, but her nickname is Jazzy. We call her Jazzy. And she writes, I see that you are right back in the box. I guess some things and people don't change. Therefore, I want you to take the time to answer yourself this one question. Who am I? From your daughter, Jazzy. She says from your daughter. She didn't even put her name. And at that present moment, I was in a cell, 8 by 8, myself, had drugs. I was under the influence. And when I read that question, I was like, and the first thing I thought of was, I always give a witty response, but I seen that she, just getting this note the way it was, cut off like this and everything, she was serious. She really wanted me to answer that question. So I got up and I looked in the mirror, and I took a real honest look at myself. And the image that got back at me was just a shell of myself, and I was like, what happened? So all the who, what, when, where, why, and how questions came about. And I couldn't answer that question honestly. It bothered me. It bothered me to the point to where I took the drugs and I flushed it. Now me, I'm not a person that does that.
Yeah.
I've gone through spurts in my life whereas I've cleaned myself up. And if I had drugs, I say I'm gonna sell them before anything else. This time around, I flushed it in the toilet and I sat down and I decided to make one of the most important decisions in my life. And that was to go cold turkey in that cell. And I did it, I went through the physical withdrawal.
Oh, wow.
It was hell. I'm talking about decades of using heroin. Went in there, sweat it out. The physical part was bad, but the mental part was worse. The winter part was a lot worse because there was so many times where I just wanted to reach out to others. And it's unfortunate, but in the prison system, there's always a way and means to get drugs. And I just wanted to reach out and just say, yo, send me that, but I didn't. And the first prison I wound up after that was Clinton Correctional Facility in Dannemora, New York. The big, famous prison, infamous prison now from the Big Escape.
Yeah.
And I got into the Narcotics Anonymous program there. And for the first week I didn't say nothing, I just listened. And I listened to the stories of the other incarcerated individuals, and I knew I was in the right place.
Nice.
Because I felt that, wow, I'm not the only one that's gone through these hard times. I'm not the only one who has fallen to the disease of drug addiction. And the second week I opened up and it was off to the races from there.
Nice.
Bad decision-making process with my drug addiction, I wound up catching a new charge of drugs. Incarceration. And I had to plead out to a 2 to 4, so my 25 years to life turns 27 years to life. So with these 3 years, it made it 24 to life. I was supposed to go to board last year. So, Clinton Annex, I got into another program there called Network, which is an all-inclusive program. It's just not specifically for drug addiction. And I gave it my all there, and I was doing great there, and they put me on a draft, and they said, you're going to Sing Sing Correctional Facility. Now, if you don't know, Sing Sing is the closest max A prison to New York City. So in my mind, I was like, I know people from New York City that's probably going to be in Sing Sing because it's close to home. And it's close to home, so I can find ways and means to get back into the drug addiction thing again. Right? This is my mind frame, right? I didn't think I was going to make it.
The other way around.
No, I didn't think I was going to make it because it's so close to New York City, so I figured it's flooded with drugs here and people that I ran with. So, you know, I had the butterflies in my stomach, and the first week that I got here, I realized, oh, there's something abnormal here. I said, I've been to 4 other maximum security prisons, and they do runs here for programs. And the yard run is the biggest one. That's you see the most incarcerated individuals going out in the yard run. But in this facility, the school run was larger than this yard run. So I was like, why is that? That's abnormal, you know? And I got to bump into individuals that I started this incarceration with, some that I knew from the streets, and they was on this school run. So I got with them and I asked them, what's going on? And they was like, we got tired of being tired, you know? And we're in a position to not only be a part of these programs, but run these programs. And I explained to them, listen, I want to get there. You know, I'm fighting my drug addiction now, I'm fresh at it. And they said, well, you know what? You take the steps and show us that you're serious about recovery and living that lifestyle of drug abstinence, and we're going to open up some doors for you. And that's exactly how it happened. How it happened. And I went from being a participant to being coordinator of some of these programs like Narcotics Anonymous. But the main program that I could see the fruits of me changing my life for the better was the Youth Assistant Program here. Some people call it a Scared Straight program.
Yeah.
So we have these young kids that come in from the inner cities and from these neighborhoods also. And some of them are delinquents, some of them juvenile delinquents, and some of them are pre-delinquents. Meaning some of them already got in trouble with the law because of bad behavior. Some of them are at that stage, whereas they're leaning that way. And the pre-delinquents are those that live in environments that have high risk factors for them to become people that are incarcerated or get in trouble. And working with these kids in these groups is just amazing because they open up to somebody they don't even know once they hear about it.
Nice.
Right? And the proof comes from the letters that they send. I get letters from in here from these kids when they come in and they write these letters for how they take my advice and the advice of other facilitators from that program and change their life. But what stood out for me the most was that the kids from the affluent neighborhoods had more, I'm not going to say serious, but their problem, especially as it relates to drug addiction, I believe is worse than the inner city kids. And the reason so being is that because they come from these rich families, and these rich families, in order to stave off their kids, they give them whatever they want. Here you go, just go.
Yeah.
So these kids, and then they get caught up with individuals that are not good role models. And once they get the taste of the drug addiction, they go into it hard. And they can
that
afford
escape is a wonderful thing. Yeah.
And they can afford it financially, but they can't afford it mentally and physically. And once they break down, you know, most of these families, they just put them in Betty Ford clinic or something like that and get your life together, but the scars are there. So when they get in front of us, that's been there, done that, and we get them in small groups, the floodgates open.
Oh, that's a gift.
Yeah, it's like I'm going through the same thing and this and that, or a similar thing, and I don't know how to do it, and we give them the best advice that we could.
Yeah.
And we hope that they won't make the bad decision of coming back to places like this as an incarcerated individual, which has happened before. You know, we've seen guys here that were in the program and wound up being incarcerated before, but it's very rare that happens. It's touching. And what's more important is the aftercare program. So the guys that are in this program, like myself, that go home, we get up with all these different places like Oxley High School, Ardsley High School, all these places that come to, we get with them and we tell our story there. And we tell them what's going on with our lives there. And when we hear their stories and we get a better perspective of their story, and we're able to use the resources that we have for ourselves for them if they need it.
Rolling.
Alright, so as I was saying with my son Georgie, he was in the streets doing things he wasn't supposed to do. He got arrested and they put him in Rikers Island. In Rikers Island they have these search teams, they call them Ninja Turtles. And when they go in there, they're not playing. They will break an individual up if you don't listen to what they say. So as soon as they come in, get on your knees, put your hands on top of your head, don't say nothing. So he did that. So they started talking to him. Yo, what's your name? So he stood quiet and they kept on. It was like, what are you, mute? So he turns to them and he sarcastically says, when you walked in the door, you said don't say nothing, so I'm not saying nothing. They said, oh, we got a tough guy here, all right. Searched his cell and they found that he had this like fruit punch Kool-Aid, Tutti Frutti. And they took it out. He had long hair after that, like he has in there now. And they stood behind him and they poured the Kool-Aid in his hair, dry like that. So when they left, what he did, he got the smart idea, all right, let me rinse this off. So he goes in the slop sink and he rinses it off with water. And what happens when you mix Kool-Aid with water? You get Kool-Aid. Oh. So it went down all on his face, down his body. So the skin color was Tutti Frutti for like 3 days. And my daughter went to visit him and he was just broke down crying like I'd never been through this humiliation in my life. But that experience was enough for him never to go back.
It could have been a hell of a lot worse.
Yeah, so I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, that could have been a much harder lesson.
Yeah, definitely could. So they come here, they come visit me. We go to FRP together, which is a family reunion program. And it keeps the ties that bind us together stronger. It really does. I talk to my daughter twice a week. And she's the type, I'm surprised she don't work for a program like yours because it's like, Dad, give me a name and number of another case. She loves reading about these cases. What she likes to look at, what are they doing? Are they still that individual from when they first got incarcerated, or have they taken the steps like you, Pops, to change their life?
Yeah.
So the worse of the crime, right, the more horrific the crime, the better the story for her if they change their life. Because to go from that and transform to that, it's better than TV shows as well.
Yeah.